The Grey Knights are a loyalist chapter of the Adeptus Astartes established during the course of the Second Founding. Despite being officially listed as a Second Founding chapter, the origins of the Grey Knights can be traced back to the later years of the Horus Heresy, just a few scant weeks prior to the onset of the Siege of Terra. The original founding members of the chapter, an elite group of warriors known as the Knights Errant, would be drawn from the ranks of various Space Marine legions, both loyalist and traitor alike, due to these individuals demonstrating an unwavering loyalty to both the Emperor and the Imperium. Those Knights Errant who exhibited any sort of psychic potential would find themselves dispatched to Saturn's moon of Titan to prepare for the coming wars against Chaos, while those who were considered psychically inert by comparison would remain upon Terra to aid in the world's defense against the forces of the traitor legions. As the founding Grey Knights wandered the icy wastes of Titan, they would eventually locate a vast fortress monastery within the foothills of Mount Anarch, which contained within it everything that the Knights would need to fulfill their purpose, including weapons, tomes of arcane knowledge, mystical artifacts, and scores of prospective aspirants locked within cryostasis that could and would in time undergo the gene seed implantation process. Soon after this, the moon of Titan would be purposefully submerged within the depths of the warp, in order to allow the Grey Knights to continue with their preparations undisturbed for many long years. Now having become a fully fledged, combat-ready chapter, the Grey Knights would re-emerge from their isolation within the Immaterium around the time of the Second Founding, and would go on to become the Imperium's most potent weapon against all things demonic, even if the knowledge of their very existence would be known only to a select few. But while the Grey Knights are themselves considered to be one of the Imperium's best-kept secrets, the chapter harbours innumerable secrets of its own, which only a relative handful of warriors are privy to. Perhaps the greatest of these is in regards to the Chambers of Purity and the mysterious prisoner kept therein. According to legend, the Chambers of Purity, the deepest and oldest portion of the chapter's fortress monastery, are said to house within them a great evil, one the identity of which is said to be known only to members of the Purifier Order, warriors who, even by the standards of the Grey Knights, are said to be both spiritually pure and utterly incorruptible. The specific details regarding this prisoner are rumoured to be chronicled within the pages of the Iron Grimoire, a tome inked with the sanctified blood of saints and bound within warp-tainted metal, which only a Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights is permitted to read. While no chapter master has ever disclosed the contents of the Iron Grimoire to their battle brothers, let alone any outsiders, the presence of this mysterious prisoner can still be felt from time to time, resulting in the entire moon of Titan being racked with intense seismic activity. Whenever such a situation occurs, the Purifiers take it upon themselves to seal the great obsidian doors to the Chambers of Purity, only re-emerging once the tremors emanating from within fully subside, much to the collective relief of their battle brothers. But this then leads to an obvious question. Just what exactly could be locked away within the Chambers of Purity? The first possibility is that this mysterious prisoner of the Grey Knights is an incredibly powerful demonic entity. After all, as mentioned earlier, the Purifiers are noted to be the most spiritually pure of all Grey Knights, and are said to be, above all other members of their chapter, resistant to both the temptations and corrupting influence of chaos. Because of this, the Purifiers are often tasked with undertaking exceptionally arduous and spiritually taxing labours, which are too great for even an ordinary Grey Knight to endure. The greatest of the many labours faced by the Purifiers, however, falls to none other than the Order's Castellan and Champion, for it is he who must take up the mantle of Warden of the Blade, and watch over a cursed artifact known as the Blade of Antweir. The Blade of Antweir contains within it an exceptionally potent demonic entity, one so powerful that not only are the Grey Knights spiritually and mentally incapable of being within its presence for more than a few minutes at best, but the blade is also capable of destroying the souls of mortals, bestowing true death to any demon that it slays, as well as being completely indestructible. If the entity within the Chambers of Purity is indeed a demon, then it's entirely possible that the fortress monastery of the Grey Knights had been constructed for the purpose of acting as its prison. After all, there have been a number of recorded instances in where a phenomenally powerful demon, instead of being banished to the warp, was instead sealed away within the very bedrock of a planet. A particularly noteworthy example of this, as detailed within the book Death of an Angel, is shown with the demon prince Faragweotla, who, after being defeated in battle by the Emperor of Mankind, would be pursued to and subsequently imprisoned within the world of Caris-Cephalon. As such, it certainly seems reasonable to assume that the Chambers of Purity could be serving as a prison for a demon or possibly even multiple demons similar to that of Faragweotla or the Blade of Antweir. Another possibility is that the prisoner within the Chambers of Purity was not born of the warp, and instead originated solely from within the material universe. In this case, could it be possible that, instead of being a demon, the entity locked away within the bowels of Titan is instead more akin to a god, specifically that of a Khitan? The Khitan, also known more informally as Star Gods, are a malevolent race of energy beings that are rumoured to be amongst the very first life forms to evolve following in the wake of the Big Bang, an event believed to have served as the catalyst for all of existence as we know it. During the War in Heaven, an apocalyptic conflict which took place over 65 million years ago, the Khitan would convince the leaders of the ancient Necron-tier empire to have their race undergo the process of biotransference, in where their organic bodies would be replaced with entirely new ones fashioned from living metal, claiming that it would grant the Necron-tier both immortality and the key to victory against their adversaries, the Old Ones. As the Necron-tier slowly underwent their species-wide metamorphosis, in where they were transformed into the mindless robotic constructs now known simply as the Necrons, the Khitan would gleefully and ravenously begin feasting upon the bodies and souls of the Necron-tier, much to the shock and horror of Jarek, the last of the Empire's silent kings. However, following the culmination of the war, in where the Old Ones were seemingly driven to extinction, the Necrons would turn upon their former allies, resulting in the Khitan, who by this point had also been gifted bodies forged from living metal to house their true incorporeal forms, being shattered into innumerable shards, which were either subsequently enslaved or sealed away upon distant worlds. But even in this fractured state, the Khitan are still beings of unimaginable power, capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality itself and bending it to their whim. Such powers demonstrated by Khitan shards include, but are not limited to, unleashing blasts of kinetic energy, controlling the minds of lesser beings, reversing the passage of time, and even opening portals to other dimensions. Because of this, it's entirely possible that the Chambers of Purity upon Titan house within them a Khitan shard. But instead of such an entity simply being buried deep within the bowels of Mount Anarch eons ago, it's possible that the Grey Knights had been entrusted with guarding a Khitan shard by none other than the Necrons themselves. While such an idea may initially seem absurd, there is some circumstantial evidence that could very well support such a possibility. As detailed within the 7th edition Grey Knight Codex, the Grey Knights are not only known to make treaties and pacts with a variety of alien races in exchange for their technologies, but also have within their possession a number of Necron artifacts known as Tesseract Labyrinths. These labyrinths are small, cube-shaped containment units that can be used to imprison demonic entities by turning their very essence against them, so that the more a demon struggles in its attempts to escape, the stronger the figurative chains binding it become. Because of this, it's not unreasonable to assume that, in exchange for a number of Tesseract Labyrinths, the Grey Knights could have agreed to act as jailers for a Khitan shard. After all, as shown within the novel Sons of the Hydra, The Khitan, despite being able to shrug off blows from more conventional armaments, such as bolt guns, las cannons, and even a concentrated orbital bombardment, are highly susceptible to attacks from warp-based weaponry, such as demon blades and psychic powers. As such, this would make the Grey Knights, whose warriors are all accomplished psykers, the perfect jailers for a Khitan shard, perhaps even more so than the necrons themselves. While the necrons are more than capable of containing any rogue Khitan themselves, their general lack of warp-based technologies or abilities make such a prospect an incredibly dangerous one. This was most notably demonstrated within the 7th edition Necron Codex, in where a shard of the Khitan known as the Void Dragon, after escaping from captivity, would succeed in devouring over a dozen worlds before finally being subdued by the cryptex of the Aerotech dynasty. Because the Khitan are shown to be vulnerable to the energies of the warp, then it's perfectly reasonable to assume that the Grey Knights could very well have been commissioned by a loosened Necron Lord to watch over the shard of an exceptionally powerful Khitan in exchange for a number of Tesseract Labyrinths and other such technologies to use in their eternal war against all things demonic. While the Imperium wouldn't officially make first contact with the Necrons until 897 M41 with the destruction of Sanctuary 101, it's still possible that the Grey Knights, given their secretive nature, could have encountered and subsequently have dealings with the Xenos prior to this. After all, it should be noted that, while the vast majority of Necrons slumbered within stasis prior to the 41st millennium, some individuals, such as the Necron Lord Trazen the Infinite, were known to have been active since the time of the Great Crusade, if not earlier, meaning that it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility for the Grey Knights to have come into contact with a Necron Lord or Cryptech who had awoken and emerged from stasis long before other members of their race. Or perhaps whatever is locked away within the Chambers of Purity is instead simply a highly dangerous and remarkably resilient life form native to Titan itself, one that cannot be destroyed through any known conventional means, only contained, although there is admittedly little else to support such an idea. Whatever the truth may be, only the warriors of the Purifier Order truly know what horrors lay buried beneath the chapter's feet. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.